Rome, the eternal city of power, pride, and glory. But in the 1st century after Christ, Rome fell into the hands of a man who would forever be remembered as one of history's most infamous rulers. His name was Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. To some he was a tyrant, to others a misunderstood artist, but to most of history he was the Mad Emperor of Rome. The story of Nero begins on December 15th, 37 AD, in the powerful Julio-Claudian dynasty. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, was ambitious, cunning, and dangerously intelligent. His father died when Nero was just 3, and Agrippina's hunger for power grew stronger every day. When Emperor Claudius, her uncle, became ruler, Agrippina seduced and married him. She convinced Claudius to adopt her young son, giving Nero a direct line to the throne. But Agrippina wasn't one to wait for fate. In 54 AD, Claudius mysteriously died after eating poisoned mushrooms. Many believed Agrippina herself had arranged it. At the age of 16, Nero became Emperor of Rome, one of the youngest rulers in history. At first, Nero's reign looked promising. Guided by wise advisors like Seneca, a philosopher, and Varus, the commander of the Praetorian Guard, the empire thrived. Taxes were reduced. Public games and performances entertained the people. The Senate felt respected. The people loved their young, handsome emperor, but behind that charming smile was a restless, artistic soul, obsessed with music, theater, and luxury. And standing beside him was his mother Agrippina, who believed she ruled Rome through her son. Agrippina's influence began to suffocate Nero. She interfered in political decisions, insulted his lovers, and even tried to control his personal life. When Nero fell in love with a freedwoman named Acte, Agrippina humiliated her publicly. The young emperor's resentment grew. In time, Nero began to see his mother as a rival. In a twisted turn of fate, the son plotted against the very woman who had put him on the throne. He tried to have her drowned in a collapsible boat built to sink while sailing. But Agrippina survived the attempt, swimming to shore and exposing Nero's plot. Humiliated, Nero ordered her assassination. On that dark night of 59 AD, Agrippina the Younger was stabbed to death by her own son's command. Rome had lost a powerful woman, and Nero had lost the last trace of his humanity. After his mother's death, Nero's reign spiraled into madness. He surrounded himself with flatterers, artists, and actors, believing himself to be a god of art. He built golden palaces, hosted wild feasts, and spent fortunes on performances. Nero's obsession with fame was unmatched. He forced senators and nobles to sit for hours as he played the lyre and sang. No one dared to leave until he stopped performing. Rome was no longer ruled by a statesman, it was ruled by an entertainer drunk on power. Then came the event that would define Nero's name for eternity. On the night of July 18, 64 AD, flames erupted in the heart of Rome. The fire spread rapidly, devouring homes, temples, and markets. For 6 days, the city burned uncontrollably. When the ashes settled, 2/3 of Rome lay in ruins, and people began to whisper, Nero did it. Some said the emperor wanted to rebuild the city in his own image, to create a new Rome with a massive palace at its center. Others claimed Nero stood on a tower, playing his lyre and singing as the city burned. Though historians debate the truth, the image stuck forever, Nero, the Mad Emperor, fiddling while Rome burned. To divert blame, Nero accused the Christians, a small and growing religious group, of starting the fire. He unleashed a brutal persecution. Christians were crucified, burned alive, or torn apart by beasts in the arena. It was one of the darkest chapters in Roman history. After the fire, Nero built his grand masterpiece, Domus Aurea, the Golden House. A palace so vast it covered a huge part of the city. It had golden walls, jeweled ceilings, and artificial lakes. In the center stood a colossal statue of Nero himself, towering 100 feet high. Rome had become Nero's playground, but the people, burdened by taxes and exhausted by his extravagance, began to turn against him. The Senate grew fearful. Even his own guards began to lose faith. In 68 AD, rebellion broke out. The governor of Gaul, Vindex, rose against Nero, calling him a disgrace to Rome. Soon the Senate declared Nero an enemy of the state. Abandoned by everyone, the emperor fled Rome. hiding in a small villa on the city's outskirts. As soldiers approached, Nero faced a choice: capture and humiliation, or death. He whispered his final words, "What an artist dies in me," and drove a dagger into his own throat. The last emperor of the Julio-Claudian line was gone. He was just 30 years old. After Nero's death, chaos gripped Rome. The year of the 4 emperors began. But Nero's name refused to die. Some called him a monster. Others saw him as a tragic dreamer destroyed by his own passions. Even centuries later, his legend endured. Some Romans even believed he would return to reclaim his throne, but history remembers him as the man who ruled like a god and fell like a fool. Nero's story is not just about cruelty, it's about the corruption of absolute power. A boy emperor who could have been great, but lost himself to vanity and desire. He built monuments of gold, but left behind ashes of sorrow. He sought applause but earned eternal shame, and in the echoes of ancient Rome, one can still hear the faint strumming of his lyre as the city burns in the distance. This was the story of Nero, the Mad Emperor of Rome, a ruler who gave the world art and terror, music and madness. If you found this story fascinating, subscribe to the Royal Era, where the rise and fall of history's greatest rulers come to life.